Hey there, college hopefuls, and welcome back to the College Vine YouTube channel. Before we get started today, remember to subscribe below to make sure you never miss any of our top application tips or test prep strategies. And don't forget that if you find today's video helpful, please go ahead and click the like button below and share it with your friends on social media. Thanks, and let's get started with this ApplyTexas video. So today, we're going to talk about ApplyTexas. For students interested in the University of Texas, Texas A&M University, or many of the other wonderful schools in the state of Texas, ApplyTexas makes it easy for students to apply to all of those schools through one centralized application process. ApplyTexas allows both Texas students and students from out of state, not in Texas, to apply to several community colleges, universities, and even graduate schools all in one place. It's kind of like the Common App, specifically designed to serve those schools in Texas. ApplyTexas makes it easy to apply for admissions to any Texas public university, participating community colleges, or participating private universities. And you can easily copy parts of your application to another Texas school, so you can avoid having to do an entirely new app for each school. While each school has their own admissions guidelines that you should follow, and of course, you should be sure to check them directly on each school's website, which is our advice in almost any topic related to admissions. Here's generally what you need to submit a complete ApplyTexas application. A complete application form via ApplyTexas, high school transcripts and college transcripts if applicable, SAT or ACT scores, extracurricular, volunteer, and employment information, school-specific requirements including essays, application fee or fee waiver, and then if you're not a native English speaker, a TOEFL or IELTS score. ApplyTexas also has the benefit of being able to apply directly for scholarships at participating universities and graduate programs. You can work on scholarship applications at the same time as you work on your college admissions applications, which is really convenient, efficient. You can make sure your applications work together and ultimately increase your chances of both admission and receiving a helpful scholarship to pay for school. So with all of that background being said, how do you actually go about applying through ApplyTexas? Well, you can access the ApplyTexas application through the website applytexas.org. Click the red Get Started button at the bottom of the screen to begin the process by creating an account. Once you've created an ApplyTexas account, you'll be able to select the schools to which you intend to apply in this cycle, and then you'll be guided through each page of the application, including fields like demographic information, educational background, and your test scores. Although most of the application is the same from one Texas school to another, any additional requirements such as institution-specific essays will automatically populate in your application based on the schools that you've selected to apply to. As you fill out the application online, you want to make sure to save your work regularly by clicking the blue Save Changes button at the bottom of the screen. Of course, it would be awful to lose all that work that you put in. Also remember to always use the internal navigation features like the menu along the left-hand side of the screen, rather than your browser buttons like back, because that might get dicey and lose some of your work. Be thorough in filling out the ApplyTexas application. Some parts of it, like the extracurricular information section, essays, or test scores, may not be required by the specific school you're applying to, but it's good practice to send in a complete application rather than leaving any parts of it blank, as that'll make copying the application to another school a whole lot easier. You want to pay close attention to school-specific requirements. Many impressive schools use ApplyTexas, including the University of Texas at Austin and Texas A&M. Those schools have stricter deadlines and expect more in an application than many other institutions on ApplyTexas. So while we've said it before, we'll say it again because it's so important. You need to pay close attention to their application requirements and follow them to the letter. Although a lot of that information is found in the ApplyTexas portal, you should always do supplementary research into the schools you're interested in, their websites, and be sure to follow those specific admission guidelines. ApplyTexas features two sets of essay prompts, one for incoming freshmen, both domestic and international, and one for transfer, transient, or readmit applications. We're going to discuss the first set for students applying as freshmen. While different schools require different combinations of essays, most students should be prepared to deal with topics A, B, and C. Students intent on pursuing a degree related to art and design should also be prepared to answer topic D, which we're also going to go through later. You can check out the ApplyTexas database to scout out which schools will require which essays, and you should definitely do this before writing any essays at all so you don't waste work on essays you don't need to write. Some schools will let you choose which prompt you address, while others will require certain prompts. Save yourself some time by knowing exactly which prompts for which schools you need to write so you work most efficiently through your college applications. So once you know which prompts you need to write, you can take a closer look at each prompt, and that's what we're going to do now. We'll walk you through prompts A, B, C, and that supplemental D prompt for art and design students. Let's dive right in with topic A and read the prompt itself. Topic A is, What was the environment in which you were raised? Describe your family, home, neighborhood, or community, and explain how it has shaped you as a person. Let's hop in with a little anecdote here. After giving a talk in Paris this past year, Ta-Nehisi Coates opened the floor for audience questions. Scores of hands shot up, understandably eager to pick his brain about one thing or another about being a famous writer. Among the questions that followed was this: how did you get where you are? Not like, did you succeed, but more like, how did you become a writer in the first place? Why did you become a writer? Well, in his answer, Coates just shrugged and said simply, well, my parents bought me a doll and named it Toussaint, so really, what choice did I have? The name Coates mentioned, Toussaint, refers to Toussaint Louverture, the leader of the Haitian Revolution and a renowned Jacobin. While Coates' response seems like a bit of a non-answer, kind of a shrug, it actually tells us a lot about how to address this topic A question of ApplyTexas. As the first domino in a line of biographical clues, the toy itself is less significant than the fact that his parents named it after a revolutionary Black intellectual. Following that trail back a little further, we find out that his father was a publisher and a librarian specializing in African American literature. Coates' mother was a teacher. So the Coates family basement was home to the Black Classics Publishing Press. Any of these factors might be enough to encourage a child to pursue a career in writing about race and politics in America. So why specifically did Coates focus on that doll named Toussaint? Well, just telling the audience that his family was in the business of publishing Black literature does little to inform us about how that environment actually affected him and shaped him as a child. The story about the doll, on the other hand, allows Coates to communicate far more. It tells us that not only did his parents know about the revolutionary Toussaint, they were invested in passing that knowledge on to their son at a pretty young age, it sounds like. It tells us that young Coates' imaginary landscape was occupied by Black intellectuals and revolutionaries, which probably got some ideas in his head. Now, what does this have to do with brainstorming for topic A? Well, the doll shows us the ways in which Coates was connected to his environment rather than just describing the environment as it was. Through the doll that he spoke about, we get glimpses of the relationships and experiences that make an environment relevant to someone's development in the first place, rather, once again, than just telling about the environment and leaving the interpretation open to the reader. So as you brainstorm for topic A, you'll want to begin with the broadest possible questions. Those are the ones that are actually contained within the prompt itself. These are questions like, how would I describe my family? How can I communicate my home environment? How am I a product of both my family and my home environment and maybe the broader community that raised me? These questions will give you point A and point B in your essay. You've got your environment and you've got your outcome, who you are as a person today. But how did you actually get there? What are the relics, the memories, the relationships that implicate your family and your environment in your personality? What are the things that caused you to become who you are? This is where it'll be important to focus in on a specific example, and that's actually why we demonstrated Coates with his doll. Even with a beautifully described environment and a compelling conclusion, this kind of personal essay will feel really hollow without details that locate you in that history of your family that you share. Moving on to topic B, let's once again read the text of the prompt itself. Topic B. Most students have an identity, an interest, or a talent that defines them in an essential way. Tell us about yourself. So topic B is a bit more varied than the first one and gives you more leeway in choosing what you're actually going to use the essay to talk about. Your identity, talents, and interests may be linked together, but they just as easily might not be linked together. But either way, don't worry. With regards to this prompt, there is no ideal angle. Let's break down what it could mean to address each of those categories that I just went over. Identity can refer to any number of traits that you feel define you. It's really up to you. Your identity might include your race, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your gender identity, your religion, and other more community-based identities such as gamer, athlete, artist, weaver, dancer, etc. Your identity is simply what makes you you. Essays about identity are a great opportunity to demonstrate your critical and political acuity, your personal convictions, and your social history. However, these types of essays do pose certain risks. The premise of writing about identity is that you will demonstrate what makes you unique as a person. Even though many of us share certain identity traits, such as our gender or our race, we've all experienced them differently. It's especially important to focus on those details, how you've experienced it differently. Essays about identity that lack individual texture risk making you appear almost clone-like and just a product of that bucket of your identity. Be sure to let your unique sense of self shine through your identity essay. Talent, next, is a topic that will probably feel familiar to you as a prospective college applicant. Frankly, that's why it can be tricky to write an effective essay about your talents, because it risks simply echoing the other parts of your application. Still, if you believe that you've gained an especially insightful lesson or reflection from one of the activities that you've listed on your application, it may still be worth writing about that talent. Just make sure that you're elaborating on your talents rather than simply reiterating them in a pretty boring way. Many applicants have a talent that stands out from the more formal ones that fit neatly onto a college application. So you might be a master bird caller, for example, but that's not listed as an extracurricular because it's just kind of something you do in your spare time. Oftentimes, writing about a wildcard talent like bird calling is a way to introduce a facet of your personality that would otherwise remain invisible on your application. It really provides color to the person that you are. The topic of talent also gives you the opportunity to write about certain interpersonal skills that might be really important to you, but pretty difficult to express on a resume. For example, if you cultivate your skills as a listener and you have a well-formulated political or philosophical imperative for being a great listener, that can make a really awesome topic for your essay. Interests are unique from talents in that you don't necessarily need to be good at them. They might not even be skills related to begin with. For example, you might be supremely interested in storm hunting, but you're unable to include that interest in any other part of your application because your mom won't let you go out and storm hunt. Interests can make for especially unique, quirky, and fascinating essays. That being said, such essays also risk missing the entire point of the prompt. You need to tell the admissions committee about yourself, and sometimes if you choose to write about a really obscure interest, you have to spend so much time of the essay educating them about that interest that it's difficult to relate it back to you, your personality, your outlook, or your identity. Regardless of the angle you choose to take for this prompt, the first step in brainstorming for it is making a list of your defining characteristics. As you do this, you'll want to prioritize the characteristics that paint you in a generally positive light. You don't want to brag, but you definitely want to be optimistic about the person that you are. Second, you'll make a sort of genealogy for each characteristic that you listed in step 1. How did those characteristics come to be so important to you? What experiences built up to the point where you'd consider that trait to be an essential part of your personality? Finally, you're going to need to rank your traits and their accompanying genealogies. For some students who have a really central and defining trait, it won't be tricky at all to go ahead and slot that one in number 1. But for students who are less certain about what to write about, it will be important to prioritize the traits with the most interesting genealogies, so you have the most to actually write about in that essay. Seeing as you want to show the committee rather than tell them, it's crucial that you pick a trait that has a compelling back history, that fits into a narrative or an intellectual picture of yourself. That's especially essential for students who are intent on taking a more creative tone with this prompt. While an obscure interest can, of course, be interesting and also endearing, it does need to have a compelling backstory to lift it up, and it needs to hold weight within the broad picture of your own personal history. Now let's move on to topic C, and once again, I'll read the topic C prompt. You've got a ticket in your hand. Where will you go? What will you do? What will happen when you get there? Topic C stands opposed to topic A and B in that it's almost entirely oriented towards the future, while the other two are often oriented more towards the past. While each of your essays should demonstrate a degree of imagination, this prompt also carries the most overt call for creativity in writing an essay, which is really exciting. There are 2 main genres of responses to prompts like this. The first adds to the forecasting effort found throughout your whole application. The second represents a creative departure from the natural path of your ambition. So let's walk through each of those, because to get started, you need to choose which path your response is going to take. First, let's talk about forecasting. Forecasting is what you do when you make promises or predictions about what you're going to do with an educational opportunity. You're forecasting when you tell UT Austin that you want to attend their engineering program in order to realize your dream of developing clean, safe public transportation. You're also forecasting when you draw conclusions from your past accomplishments to predict your future success at Texas A&M. The act of applying to a school is, of course, inherently future-oriented. You are making a prediction about what you want to do in the future. That being said, good applications have both cohesion and balance. An application that's too future-oriented will leave the admissions officers wondering who exactly you are and what got you to this point that you want to go to their school. An application that's too autoethnographic, too focused in the past, will leave the officers wondering about your future ambitions and how you'll integrate into their community. A forecast-oriented answer in topic C will naturally link up with other parts of your application. For example, the engineering student, which I mentioned above, might write that they're holding a ticket for the very first 100% green interstate transportation system, a system that they've spent the past 15 years building from the ground up, beginning with their degree at UT Austin. In this case, the essay looks back from a future point in which the student has fulfilled the ambitions that they are forecasting. Of course, you don't have to take this prompt in a predictable direction. The genre of creative departure allows you to focus more on your personality, your imagination, and your capacity for critical thought, which are all things that college admissions officers want to welcome into their next class. If you feel that your application already does enough to forecast your ambitions, it's already clear what kind of student you'll be at a Texas school, you may opt to write about something that's completely unrelated to any of this. Especially for students applying to creative programs such as theater or studio art, Topic C could be a good moment to demonstrate your creative fit. Students who pick this genre can write about almost literally anything they want to. The ticket in your hand could be a time machine to the Renaissance. It could be a one-way expedition to Mars, or it could be a mysterious back alley puppet show that you're attending. The important thing is that you use the premise of your essay to reflect on the world in a mature and thoughtful manner. Don't just choose something silly and then not back it up in that essay. Lastly, before diving into Topic D, we want to note that the essay in Topic D is specific to certain college majors and is not required by all colleges or universities that accept ApplyTexas. If you are not applying for a major in architecture, art history, design, studio art, visual art studies, or art education, you probably will not need to write this Topic D essay. But let's hop in and I'll read the Topic D prompt once again. Personal interaction with objects, images, and spaces can be so powerful as to change the way one thinks about particular issues or topics. For your intended area of study, whether it's architecture, art history, design, studio art, visual art studies, or art education, describe an experience where instruction in that area or your personal interaction with an object, image, or space affected this type of change in your thinking. What did you do to act upon your new thinking, and what have you done to prepare yourself for further study in this area? Topic D is a situational prompt for students looking to engage with art, design, and imagery. Unlike topics A and B, Topic D specifically asks you to tell a story. Regardless of the motive narrative you employ, your essay should start with a moment. That's a moment of confrontation, of observation, or of reaction. Whether you engage with a piece of art or a lecture from design class, that moment is crucial. In it, you'll demonstrate your ability to sift through your feelings about art, pulling out the concrete variables and specific vocabularies to describe why, in that moment, the art made you feel that way in the first place. It's unsurprising that the prompt is so intent on drawing out this feeling from you. They want to understand how art has impacted you in the first place, because understanding how art has impacted you is the first step towards creating art that impacts others. The second part of this process should go beyond the moment of interaction detailed in step 1, moving on to either the present or the future. In this section, you'll want to set your compass, so to speak. You want to use your lessons from part 1 to forecast the ways in which your future ambitions will be uniquely impactful. That can include anything from aperture to allegory. Your art is largely a product of your inspiration. Being able to trace and predict this link demonstrates your maturity as a budding artist or a budding designer. For more tips on using ApplyTexas and writing the essays that are required by it, be sure to check out our blog posts, which include what is ApplyTexas, what colleges use it, and how to write the ApplyTexas essays 2019 through 2020. We'll link these articles in the comments below. For more general guidance on building a school list, writing essays, or filling out your applications, don't forget to visit us online at app.collegevine.com. That's it for today. Good luck with your application to ApplyTexas, and thanks for visiting the CollegeVine YouTube channel. If you're applying this season, best of luck.